think the things that you might want to look at when you're looking at different doctors, at least in the United States, in order you can be what they call board certified in reproductive endocrinology. So I think one of the important things is just to make sure they've had the training and they've been board certified. It's not to say that all board certified reproductive endocrinologists are all good, but at least that's kind of something to start by looking at. I think the other thing that you need to look at in clinics personally would be how many, for example, surrogate cycles have they done. My embryologist and I combined have done about 1,600 cycles. That's a lot. Now again, it's not like doing a lot means you're always very good at it, but we are. As you heard last night, we went through in vitro fertilization, and I was blessed we got pregnant, but we were kind of behind the 8 ball because Lisa was a little more mature. And my sperm was swimming backwards, which really didn't help either. But that's not a deal breaker for you. Sperm's never your deal breaker. Just as long as there's some sperm, we can actually take sperm, inject it right into the egg called ICSI, so that gets around the whole problem. So anytime I'm looking at a couples like yourselves, what I'm really thinking of is we need a good surrogates. There are a lot of things to look at surrogates, and we can address that tomorrow at the session, but you want to make sure we've got a good oven, good uterus, and most are. But you want to make sure you've got good embryos. Embryos are a combination of egg and sperm. Usually the sperm have little impact on the quality of embryos, although there could be. And so it's really important to get a good egg donor. That is very, very important. We have egg donors ourselves, or we use the agencies. So the agencies supply donors. We also freeze eggs. We use egg freeze banks. Anyway, there are a lot of permutations. I think you want to use a donor that's young, and in my opinion, has a reasonable number of eggs. Average number of eggs we get on our donors are 17, and you might ask, well, how many do you really need? It's somewhat of a numbers game. You know, my situation with my wife, we got 3, and we got the job done, except I was really sweating during the whole process because you got 3 eggs and you don't know really what you're going to end up with. So very important to get the right donors, and when I personally take care of all my couples, I do have an associate. She joined about 1.5 years ago. Although I take care of all my patients, we do have 2 doctors. So if I get hit by a bus crossing the street here on Dizengoff, I've got somebody back home that can take care of business. So I think it's also important to make sure you've got kind of a backup there, because what if? You know, and so I think that's important as well. Because of my interest in the lab, making sure we have the best embryologists around, which I think we do, I'm also certified, HDL certified, which is another governing body in the United States, where you do extra training in the lab. So not only do I just say, hey, kind of do it in the lab, I'm very involved in the lab because I know that's kind of where it's very important. We're located in Fort Worth, Texas. Anybody been to Fort Worth? That was my impression. Initially, I'm a New Yorker, and I thought, Fort Worth, are you kidding me? Very nice place. People are very good. So at least for our international travelers, very easy. DFW Airport, we're half an hour away. And my international patients seem to like it very much. You can also have Dallas. You can go see a basketball game. You can go see a baseball game. So whatever you want. So it seems to be an easy place to go in and out. And we're very used to having international patients going in and out. As far as pricing, I think you'll find, especially in Texas, pricing to be less than other areas of the country. You find in the West Coast, East Coast, prices are inflated. Probably their overheads are higher, or for whatever reason. But you'll find, and we can give you our pricing, what it would cost you. So at least going into it, I can give you an idea what your chances of getting pregnant are. I can give you an idea what the cost would be. We work with a number of agencies. One of the main agencies we do work with is Simple Surrogacy. One of the reasons we do that is they do a very good job with their patients. Not that these other agencies don't. They're very good agencies as well. But we see a fair number from that agency. As far as pricing is concerned, we have the prices there to give you an idea of what we charge. There are some programs that are offering a guarantee. You can go home with a baby. This is the set cost. We can come up with an algorithm for you with that. The reason I haven't done it, most patients really do get pregnant pretty quickly with us. So the problem I have with that is you're going to be putting down a lot of money, more money than I think you really need to, in my opinion, because it is so efficient. As far as same-sex couples, for 2012, we had a 90% ongoing pregnancy rate. Very good. Not everybody, and we wish everybody would. But I think that not only has to do with the nurses, myself, but again, the embryologist. The embryologist we have has extensive experience with surrogacies, donor cycles, and he's just a magician in there. So,
apart from the donor age, what other things like a good donor?
Okay, so in my opinion, a good donor, first thing I do when a donor hits my door, there's no foreplay. We go right to the exam room and do an ultrasound on our ovaries, okay? Because you can actually look at ovaries and you can pretty much guess how many eggs somebody's going to give you. Because the deal is women are born with about 1 to 2 million eggs at puberty. They have 400,000 at menopause 0. So they got eggs that are continually turning over. And you can do an ultrasound and see these little black holes that represent where eggs are housed. So I can look at a donor and give you a pretty good idea about how many eggs I'm going to be able to get. I think that's the first thing. Now, if, for example, you all choose a donor, I might call you and go, you know, and by the way, as far as communication, we can Skype, phone, email. I'll give you my personal numbers. My wife doesn't mind if I get calls at all times. She's very understanding with this, probably because we've gone through this. But communication is a very two-way system with us and seems to work very well. Actually, I've been communicating with one of our patients here in Israel. She's ready to do a cycle next month. And she's got lots of questions, which is okay. I'm going to meet with her too and go, okay, let's sit down. So this was actually pretty convenient, but we also Skype or whatever else you need to do. But getting back to your question about the donor, they got to have eggs. And so youth is good. I'm not a big proponent of too young, like 18. I'm not sure they really know what they're doing. I want somebody that I feel is going to do a good job for you. So first I look at the ovaries. If I think the ovaries are good, I make my recommendations to proceed. If not, I talk to you. So for example, let's say you choose a donor and you go, I love her, I've got to have her. I might say, listen, I think I'll get 6 to 7 eggs. And you'll say, okay, I'll go with that, average is 17, but I love her. We'll roll. You know, I'm your coach. And I've had that before. In most cases they do get pregnant, but then in those situations sometimes we don't have extra embryos to freeze, which is an advantage. If you have extra embryos to freeze, that gives you additional opportunities. Also, if I have a couple, for example, you guys want to split sperm with half the eggs, the other half, and then let's say you're also interested in a male or a female, that could be done too, but with those kind of donors you want more eggs because you're already splitting in half between 2 people, and then if you're also looking genetically, half those embryos are going to be genetically abnormal, and then on top of it, if you have a preference for a boy or girl, then you've got less. So it also depends on the situation that you're in. I have a same-sex couple from Louisiana right now, and then I saw their donor, I said, I think she's going to be okay, I think we'll get 12 to 13 eggs. And I said, how are you going to split these? They explained it to me, and I felt very comfortable we can proceed because they really wanted that donor.
So this is before the fertilization treatment of the donor? Like you do an ultrasound and you see like how many follicles?
Yeah, it's like you're looking at a car. You can look under the hood, see what's going on, right? And I can do that legally, okay? So, but no, you want to look under the hood. You want to know, I can predict about how many eggs we'll get based on the stimulation. And it's also, we do a blood test. So for example, if I got a donor and she's not near my clinic, I might just get a quick blood test to let me know if she's in the game or not. It's called anti-Mullerian hormone, or AMH. So if you check Dr. Google, it's called AMH, and that's also helpful. But I can look at ovaries and pretty much determine that.
The fresh frozen eggs issue is like,
comparable.
Another small question. How many visits do we actually need to make in Texas?
It depends if you like me or not. No, I prefer 2. An initial visit where you guys can come down, you can visit, we can go to the rodeo, and then we can talk business, and we get sperm samples, we freeze those samples, we do some blood testing, and then you're pretty much done, for that visit. And the next time you would come would be probably maybe if you want to, for the delivery, of course, and then if whatever's going on with your surrogate. So you really, for us, really looking at one visit. Well, you generally meet with us, you meet with your surrogate as well, and so we work with the agencies to maximize. And like our clinic, you'll be there a couple hours. We talk, we do the sperm, we freeze the sperm, because that way we've got your sperm on ice. And with the regulations in the United States, which you may or may not be familiar with, but our government is also a pain in the ass, probably like yours. It's saying universal. And it's really for your protection, but a little overboard, where we can freeze the sperm. We need certain blood work before we can use this sperm, because the sperm will be donating to a surrogate. Okay? So the surrogate's going to get an egg and a sperm. They're donated tissues in our government. They don't care. Heart, lung, eyeball, whatever. It has the same thing. So we do that, familiarize you with the what's going on. And then you generally would spend some time with the surrogate, and as far as how much time you want to spend with the surrogate is pretty much up to you. They've had over 700 pregnancies using their frozen eggs, and they have a big selection of egg donors. So we have some ourselves, but we usually refer to the egg bank where you get at least 6 eggs. It depends what your goal here is. You know, the limit in frozen eggs is you can have a limited number of eggs available. So if you have 6 frozen, you might have 5 that survive the freeze and thaw process. Maybe 3 of those will fertilize, and we're looking at probably 2 embryos to put back. But it could be 1, could be 3, especially if you're going to split. I don't think that's really such a good idea. But pregnancy rates are fairly similar. Average number of eggs that we get in our program are 17 with our donors. That's a lot, and you can compare the cost too. So I think it really comes down to cost if you really look at it. What do you think the difference in cost between the two?
How many embryos do you use in every cycle?
So typically in our program, in the donor egg program, last year we transferred 1.8 embryos. It's not that we cut them in half, you know, because they scream. It's horrible. And I wake up at night. Now, average is 1.8, and the average number that we froze last year was 4.2. Now that also, we do a fair amount of genetic diagnosis on the embryos. So, you know, that frozen number is pretty decent, but that also takes into account that a number of our same-sex couples want to do a pre-implantation genetic screening, and we're already screening out a bunch of what we call maybe genetically abnormal embryos, so then obviously we wouldn't freeze those.
Any legal issues with gay surrogacy in Texas being a southern state?
Wouldn't you think? But it isn't. Apparently, it's a pretty smooth process.
Both parents can be registered as parents.
You know, it depends whether it's before or after. They usually do it more after. You know, and also depends on what you guys decide. I think Connecticut they can just do it, you know, before. I think Texas they do it after, just to determine the paternity too. So if you use both yours, but it's really not a big deal at all. I mean, I haven't heard. The agencies probably do such a good job with it. I don't hear any problems, but you can talk to agencies about it. But I can tell you, we've done a lot of same-sex couples, and haven't heard any complaints. Just pictures of babies, and I'm happy, and you know. Yes.
And we have the opportunity to do their twins from each sperm.
So your question it would be putting
to have twins from each sperm and the same egg.
Okay. You need to probably not at the same. I mean, you wouldn't put 2. The most we put back is 2 embryos in a surrogate.
Okay, so we can put.
You come back again.
We can put 2 each from each sperm.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. A lot of my same-sex like to do that.
The percentage? It will be twins.
50%. 50% if you don't do genetic diagnosis, and it's closer to about 65% if you do diagnosis, because you have a higher success rate because we know what we're putting back. So
okay.
I know the goal oftentimes is twins. We would have wanted twins, but our embryos didn't pay attention, did they? Got to go back to the drawing board. Well, I appreciate it so much. If anybody's interested in signing up for a consult tomorrow, please come up. We'd be more than happy to do that. Or downstairs at the expo.